We need some hands for help.
Can we say power to the people one time out here?
Power to the people! Say it like you mean it! Power to the people! Power to the people!
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We talking about 6 incidents in less than 7 months. Dealing with these people, man. Enough is enough.
So before we get started, we're going to start off with prayer. Father God, we humbly come before you today, praying for justice to be served for this family. God, you have the last say in this. And despite what the doctor is saying, we are holding out hope and faith, Father God, that you will continue to show up. We ask that you encamp your angels right now in that hospital room around Tyus. And we just thank you for continuing to be at the helm of our life. Amen. So good afternoon. My name is Amelia Land, and it was with unbelievable disbelief that we are standing here before you today with the family of Tyus Hutton. Tyus is a 25-year-old male who has been in custody with the Sacramento Jail since May 29th of this year. Tyus is currently on life support. They have determined that Tyus has no brain activity, and the family has no answers. Tyus had been in the hospital 6 days before his family was notified of his condition. And with that, I am going to pass it off to Leah Shank of Impact, who's going to give you a timeline of what has transpired.
Leah Shank, L-E-I-A, S-C-H-E-N-K, founder of EMPACT, E-M-P-A-C-T. Tyus was arrested on May 30th. He was not charged with a crime officially. There's nothing that shows that there was any crime committed. There's nothing that shows that he has been charged with any crime. He has not been to court. He has not been given his documents as far as what is alleged. On the 23rd, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department brought Tyus here to Sutter Hospital. They didn't contact the family. They didn't contact anyone. The hospital contacted the family on August 29th. 6 days.
Against the orders of the
Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. And when they contacted the family, it was to say, your son is here and we need to take him off life support. Family didn't even know he was here. When the family contacted the downtown county jail and to ask what happened to their son, they were originally told, we don't know what happened to him. They then were told that he was in a fight. They then were told that he was strangled. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Department has not given this family any answers as to what does that mean. When did this happen? When exactly was he brought here? Why were they not notified? It's also important to mention that Tyus is an individual that suffers from mental health, who was denied medication. He was denied mental health services. He was improperly housed, meaning he was not housed where mental health patients are housed. So the timeline shows that the negligence from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department is not aligned with the safety, health, and protection of individuals while they are in the care and custody of the Sheriff's Department. We're going to now turn it over to Melissa Knoll, attorney Melissa Knoll, and she will give a little more information about how this situation pertains to laws and facts.
My name is Melissa Knoll. I'm a civil rights attorney, MELISSA, and is an Nancy OLD. I was brought in because there were some concerns about this family hearing about what happened at such a late hour. The more that I digged and the more that I looked, the more that I asked questions, the more that I reached out to people in the community, the more and more concerned we became. We learned that not only was he brought in 6 days before the family, that they intentionally didn't want the family to know what happened. They didn't want the family to see him. To this day, they've only allowed the parents to go in for a few minutes. This is a person that they know is expected to be taken off of life support, that the family has the right to spend time with him, to grieve him, to be in his presence while he is still on this earth. They're encouraging the family to remove him from life support when there has not even been a real, we believe, investigation into the circumstances that caused him to be here. One of two things has happened. Either they neglected him and mishoused him and left him around some sort of violent criminal that ended his life effectively, or one of the correctional officers has ended his life. What I'm seeing, the refusal to tell the family, having to have essentially whistleblowers contacting the family to let them know what's going on, their refusal to let the family members see them, that indicates that they did something wrong, that they knew they did something wrong. But today it got even worse, because before we were headed over here, Tyus' mother received a call from the sheriff's department, the same person she had spoken to yesterday, saying that they knew she was having a press conference, and that if she went forward, and if that was anything that could cause any harm to Tyus or their deputies, that they would refuse to allow the family to see Tyus. That is a threat. That is a threat. That is a threat that they're trying to extinguish this family's First Amendment rights to speak out and demand answers to what happened. We further learned that the district attorney is refusing to give Tyus a compassionate release. He has a brain injury that is, according to the medical doctors, not recoverable, and they're recommending him taken off of life support. And the DA still refuses to release him so that his family can console him in his last hours and minutes. I have never heard of anything like this. I deal with police brutality generally that results in serious injury or death. And this is what we see when the police have killed somebody, the covering up. Why would they not have told the public? We know there's been a spate of deaths that have happened here. We're demanding that there be an outside investigation into what happened. Why did they not want the family to see him? Were they ever going to call the family? There were physical injuries on his body. There were evidence that needs to be documented. His body's a crime scene right now, and they're keeping people other than the families. That limited view, they're saying it's because he's still in custody. He has suffered brain death. He is not an inmate anymore. He is the victim of a crime. The question now is, who is the criminal? Is it an inmate or is it a guard? And they need to answer that question. This family has the right to know who has caused the end of their son's life and what procedures would allow them to demand that the hospital not call a mother who needs and father who need to make a decision. Now we know that ultimately what happens with Tyus is in the hands of God. We know that. But it wasn't that the hands of God are not the sheriff's department that get to make the decisions about whether a family gets to grieve their loved one. This mother and father, the father flew in from Chicago to sit by his son's bedside, was told, you got an hour, and that's it, and nothing more. And they're saying that that's a concession that they're giving this family. When he was in their custody, and they were supposed to keep him safe when this happened to him. And now the threat that says, if we say anything that endangers his life, they've already killed him. And that's just the reality of it. We will need a Jesus miracle to bring him back up on his feet. And to say that this family doesn't have the right to do that, that's unlawful, that's ungodly, that's unethical. And whether it be the hospital, the jail, everybody needs to be held accountable. There has to be procedures in place. Say this is what, the sixth person that's suddenly become dead under their care, that they're not calling and telling everybody? That's something that needs to be investigated by the Attorney General's office, potentially the FBI. And why is the hospital being directed on these illegal directives? I've never heard of anything like that. We have some real concerns about the diagnosis coming out of this hospital. Unfortunately, a few years ago, one of my clients was in a coma after suffering a loss of oxygen injury just like this, and they were advised to take him off of life support, and he woke up a couple of days later. So the family needs a second opinion from somebody who doesn't work in cahoots with the people that potentially caused this injury. And I just want to to make it very clear. We don't take kindly to threats for a victim's family.
right.
This is a homicide victim's family. We know perfectly well had this been a white person that was killed jogging, that they wouldn't have treated them like this. We all know this, and that's just a fact. So the fact that they feel like they could take a mentally ill black man and treat his family like that, that's despicable. And everybody that made those threats and those decisions should be terminated for cause immediately. That is not the way we treat human beings. You know, so as far as the demands from the family, do you want to?
My demands right now is for an independent third-party investigation, a very thorough one, so I can know what happened to my son, and for us to be treated with respect and as human, and give my son the dignity that he deserves. And I would like to thank everybody that showed up here today, also, for being here and supporting us. That's my main concern. No, that's all I have to say right now.
Hello, my name is Ted Willie Gayfield, TEDWILLIEGAYFIELD. Tyus is my only son. Tyus is my last baby. Tyus is not no bad person. He's a school child. He's a computer freak. He ain't what y'all think he is. He is not the devil. He is not. I don't know why y'all put him in this situation. But y'all put him in a bad situation because he is not that type of person. He knows school. That's all he knows really is school and how to work and stuff. So I don't even understand how he was. I don't even understand how y'all didn't notify me that my son was still here and still, just. Why is he in the hospital? Y'all ain't notified me. Y'all still ain't know. So I'm just at a loss of words. I can't never get my baby back. I know I ain't gonna never get my baby back. And when he come out of it, he ain't gonna be right neither. I know that because it's hard. It's gonna be hard. But I got to be there for him. That's my baby. That's my last baby. I thank everybody for coming and thank y'all for y'all support, but please help my baby. Thank you, honey.
Our demands that there be a third-party independent investigation. We'll be reaching out to the Attorney General's office demanding that they come look into this. Not just Tyus' death, but all the people that they allege had overdose deaths. Those are also things that are often described for people that have had positional asphyxiation, where the medical examiner's provided misinformation and just assumes that there's been some sort of an overdose death. Those really need to be looked into. There's something fishy about this. There needs to be a proper outside investigation. They cannot investigate this. The Sacramento Police Department should not be investigating this. We need folks that don't have neighbors, friends that could be helping to cover up crime, the crime that happened here. We're also demanding that the district attorney do the right thing. He is in a vegetative state. There is no lawful reason to prevent a compassionate release. Period. He has not been convicted of a crime. He had not even had his day in court. The good and decent and lawful thing is to release him so his family can spend the last days on earth with him, period. In addition to that, we want an investigation into how the mechanisms that allow this family to be kept in the dark, the refusal to give them information, and the person who made the threat today to tell us that if we came out here and did this, that this family would suffer further harm. That insult to injury is unlawful. It's unconstitutional, period. And that we will not be going away until we get the answers from this. And if they don't want to give us the answers, then the court is going to give us the answers, period.
Just like the DA said when he talked about as him being our new DA, and he talked about it being personal to him when it was Asian hate crime. Well, this is the black community speaking to you and saying this is personal to us. It's personal. We want you to take this personal, just like you take Asian hate crime personal. We want you to take this personal, Mr. DA.
Sure.
Right now, we're not seeing anything different than the last DA who was cold and heartless and had no concern with what was happening to people in custody. This is no different than the police causing somebody's death. The DA is ultimately responsible for charging people. We believe that the sheriff's department is waiting until he passes away to make an announcement, and that's not lawful. That's not transparent. That's not accountable, and that's what we're demanding here.
I want you to take a good look. I want you to take a real good look. That's somebody's baby. That's somebody's brother. That's somebody's grandson. He's not an inmate. He's a human being. And his name is Tyus. And Tyus has tied us all together today. There are no signs of strangulation on Tyus. There are no signs that Tyus was in any type of a physical altercation. We demand answers. I sit on Sacramento County's Public Safety Justice Advisory Committee. I'm the only African American woman on that committee. That committee came about because of the Mays decree and the issues that we have seen time and time again with the Sacramento County Jail, very specifically around how it treats people with mental health issues. We want to know why Tyus was being housed on the 8th floor. We want to know why Tyus was denied medication. We want to know why the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department instructed Sutter Hospital to not contact this family to let them know that their child has been here, that he was here 6 days in a coma fighting for his life. How dare you continue to mistreat us this way? We will not go away. We're gonna get justice for Tyus. Sacramento County, you have blood on your hands. We demand accountability. We continue to hear law enforcement talk about transparency, accountability, building relationships with the community. How is that possible when a 25-year-old child is in there brain dead? This is a homicide, and his family deserves answers.
We're going to take some questions. There are certain questions, as you guys can understand, cannot be answered right now. Okay, so if we can just respectfully understand that.
I do want some clarification. It had been said that one of the physicians at the hospital contacted the family when they were told not to by the sheriff department. Is that correct?
So it was a representative from the hospital. We don't know the title, but it was someone from the hospital contacted the parents, and it was said that they were not supposed to, that they were recommended and ordered, essentially, to not tell the family anything.
But they revealed the information anyway, as they were supposed to.
Consider that person a whistleblower. And I'd also like to mention, if there are any witnesses, anybody that works for the sheriff's department that wants to do the right thing. I talk to whistleblowers all the time from inside. Your information will remain anonymous. If there are inmates that are being released, people getting information, we can keep those people anonymous and investigate that. We know that this happened inside. We know that there are witnesses and people that do the right thing. It is always the right time to do the right thing. We can keep them safe. They are whistleblowers. These are whistleblowers. The person at the hospital is a whistleblower. They have protections because they're basically trying to hide a crime. They're trying to hide a crime scene, which is this physical person. So that's something to be considered to have whistleblower protection for hospital or jail employees or anybody else in the law enforcement community who may have heard a bit about this and has some information we might be able to use in the investigation.
And to that whistleblower, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for having human decency, for having kindness in your heart, for doing the right thing despite the corruption that tried to stop you. And as Melissa said, we are encouraging anyone to come forward with information, because if this was your child, if this was your family member, you would want someone to do the right thing.
So it's unclear, and unfortunately, because of his mental illness, he's not necessarily the best person to recite the court proceedings. We attempted to search online, we show him in custody as we speak, with 0 charges. So we're not sure if the public defender agreed to set it out because they were trying to investigate the charges. We're unsure about that part, but we do know that he was considered a pretrial detainee, and they have the highest level of requirement to keep folks safe to have even been convicted of a crime. And so, to our knowledge, there wasn't any charges that were actively pending, because otherwise they should be listed for for folks to be able to ascertain that information.
And do you know why he was even convicted?
It was our understanding that they suspected there might have been some sort of a probation violation. He was really somebody that needed to have ongoing mental health treatment, needed to be in diversion, but instead of doing diversion and providing medication, they're more apt to take people and throw them into jails, and create a criminal capacity for somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to even be charged with crimes. And so this is an ongoing issue that the family has had. They let him out of custody, but then they wouldn't give him any medication. You have to give him Medi-Cal and all of the things that our mentally ill neighbors have to struggle with dealing with the criminal incarceration system versus the mental health system.
From the sheriff's department, it's been difficult this morning, but do you know the person that is responsible for this, whether it's an inmate or they're not saying?
They specifically said they were investigating. Well, it's been 11 days. You either have footage of one of your employees killing him, or you have footage of an inmate killing him, or you have no footage at all because you left him unattended for some period of time. God alone knows what happened. So they won't even provide the information. And in response to knowing we were going to come out here and demand that they threaten the family, and so it's unfortunate. It feels like we're dealing with people who have already plotted and orchestrated something to conceal what actually happened. But we would ask also if there's any elected officials, anybody locally that has any kind of pull, make the calls, make sure that the family can get in and see him, because we know now that they're cutting that off for us.
Well, they're not allowing you to go in?
No, they were not allowing. They said the parents could have 1 hour each. That hour's gone, and they said the scheduled visit today for the siblings is off if we come out here. That was literally the threat. No, I've never heard of anything like this. He is dying. If he dies tonight, they've denied the family the opportunity to hold his hand until his last moments. I'm doing this for 10, 11 years, and even when the police kill people, shoot them, and they go to the hospital, they let the mother and father sit at their feet to hold his hand. It's beyond cruel and unusual. Nobody. I wouldn't care if he was in there for being a serial killer. Everybody deserves to have their family who loves them to come and sit with them. So yeah, that's very unheard of. The threat is just, I believe it's criminal. Frankly, I believe it's criminal.
So on that note, we call out my bank, because this happened in her district, 95823. I believe that's my bank. And also, since he was housed here, we're going to also be calling on Katie Maples, or Katie's Venezuela. I'm sorry, Katie Venezuela, we need your help. We need compassionate release so that these parents can be with their son in his last moments. Days.
And then just on the mother and father's behalf, they just want to make it clear that they are believing that their son is going to come out of this. They are believing that there's a higher power and that they are praying over his life. They do not consider him dead. They do not consider him gone. To them, he is very much alive, and that they are holding out those hopes and those prayers that this will change and that they will be able to see their son walk out of here. So we just want to clarify that There's legal talk, but then from the family, from their stance, we want to make sure that we respect the way they feel as well. And they believe very strongly in that their son is still here and he's still with them. Yes.
The hospital said what his injuries are to the family?
No. The hospital won't give any information out about that as well. Just his current prognosis, and that's it. Any more questions, anyone?
Lastly, one of our key demands is that we would like to have a second opinion. As Attorney Knoll stated earlier, a few years back, she had a client who was also housed here and was advised, family was advised to remove their loved one from life support, only for him to wake up the following day. As we started earlier with, we believe in the power of God. God has the last say. We also are looking at what the medical professionals have disclosed and the unfortunate probability of what this may turn out to be. Either way it goes, his family deserves the right to be treated as human beings and be allowed to sit at their son's side, no matter what the outcome may be. And so again, we are calling on those who may have any information. Please come forward. We will ensure that it remains confidential. However, we can't say it enough. If this was your loved one, you would want the answers to.
Shay.
So going forward, sort of the next step is going to us continuing to get the attention of whomever we can to right the wrong that's happening right now, the threats, the refusal to let the family. That's a more imminent concern of mine, because we can sue them later for the harm that they're causing right now, but we want to prevent the harm before it becomes. How much are you going to have to compensate this family for having not been able to spend the last days, weeks, or months with this young man, right? Money can't bring that time back. We want the time. We want the time now. So we're here at trying to mediate this. We're trying to make sure that this family gets the opportunity to spend the time with him, because we don't know what the future holds. So, and that's the immediate next step. And we're going to continue to be in touch as far as as we continue to get more information. More information is brought in through whistleblowers and things like that. We'll be able to determine better what the next steps are going to be, or if potentially we need some more urgent legal intervention to potentially allow the family to help come and have this time.
And as always, it's always important to humanize folks, because we know in the coming of days, we know how this turns into different type of narratives. And so I think it's important that we point out and that we acknowledge the community organizers that are here, community leaders that are here, that all knew Tyus personally. They were part of the various programs at some point. And you have a lot of very active people here that are in the community, that have businesses here in the community, organizations. They do a lot of this work as far as community work goes, and they knew him personally. They helped him to get jobs. They helped him with job skills, and they helped him just be able to become the young man that he was. And so it's important that we thank everyone that's here and that we acknowledge them. Does anybody want to speak? No? Justin?
Well, yeah, I just want to say this here, right? We're not talking about gang-related individuals, right? We're talking about a law-abiding young African-American male that was trusted in a custody to be over and ended up in this situation. So I just want to say, don't take no rocket science to figure out what's going on. So please put your minds together, do what y'all can to come help support your family. We're talking about a well-raised, well-rounded young man, right? Participated in our program called the Young Adults Healing Circle. We do every Tuesday. We help this young man get boots and the things necessary to help get him in the workforce, right? Help get him about being a young man in society that's respectable. Sent him on his way, and then this happened. Come on. got to get some type of answers. We got to get some type of answers. So please come help support this family. Hopefully we can be here tomorrow also until we get some type of call and some type of answers. Right? I don't think this should be just a one-day event. Right? Let's push, let's push, let's push.
And I just wanted to mention, one of the reasons.
I'm sorry for everything. Could we just get your name, please?
My name is Joseph Thomas. I'm the co-founder of Uniting and Guiding. I also have another program called Hooked on Fishing Not Violence. And we do different type of organizations, type of programs around the community for young men like Tyus, right? So we specialize in trying to get these young men on the right track. Never was on the wrong track. He just so happens to be one of the other young men on the right track. So he was a voice in our organization, right? But we just want to say, man, we're here. We're here.
Spell your name for us.
Joseph, JOSEPH, UnitedandGuided.org. Brotherhood for you.
There's one thing I wanted to mention because I think it's important right now. One of the things I do is specifically law enforcement reform, police reform. When you have situations like this where there's lawlessness within law enforcement agencies, and this is not, it's well documented that lawlessness has been within the Sacramento County Jail for years and years and years. And so we believe this rises to the level where there needs to be a federal monitoring consent decree, similar to what law enforcement agencies have. There's some mode of monitoring place. It's obviously not sufficient. They're not inside the jail to monitor the daily conditions. They're not talking to the inmates to find out about the abuses. And so this is a perfect opportunity to create a reform, to do something that isn't suing for the purpose of monetary accommodations at some point, but is to change this so that another family doesn't have to go through this, right? Because no matter what the outcome, this family has already had to suffer this. And if they can prevent another family from having to go through this unimaginable heartbreak, then that's what we need to do. So that, to me, is when I come in, is generally for mass reform issues, something we're working on with the Vallejo Police Department right now. So this place has been ripe for the need for massive reform for as long as I've been doing this, for at least a decade. We've been needing this. We're hoping that this can be a caveat to getting something bigger to save other folks.
Attorney Moore, I do have a question. Sacramento County has a inspector general to investigate cases. Have y'all reached out to them, that office?
Yes, we've left messages essentially for everybody that we could, and wanted to facilitate this. We're wanting to have the Inspector General investigate, the Internal Affairs investigate. Now, normally when those investigations are ongoing, they won't telling us anything about them. But yeah, one of the issues with the Inspector General is the long history of the Sheriff's Department locking them out, right? The Inspector General's office was unmanned for years because nobody wanted the job, because the sheriff has historically been a SOB who's been trying to defend the police no matter what they do. And so we know it's an uphill battle, but we are reaching out to everybody that has the capacity to investigate or even to encourage an investigation. Like I said, city officials and people that don't have the juice themselves but could possibly lean on people necessary to get that done.
We want to make sure that people understand something here. His name is Tyus. Not inmate, not prisoner. He's a human being. His name is Tyus. Not inmate, not prisoner. He's a human being. This is his father. This is his mother. This is his community. He is loved. His life matters. And for all the Tyuses out there, we will continue to fight for you. His name is Tyus. Not prisoner. Not inmate. Not ex-reference.
Come on, sis.
And don't forget that.
Say his name! Tyus! Say his name! Tyus! Say his name! Tyus! Don't forget that. His name is Tyus.
We're going to have one last statement, and I want to be clear about something. That Tyus does not have criminal history like it may be put out. This is a young man, like so many in our community, who has dealt with a tremendous amount of trauma. Being black, being male.
You see that? That's my son. That's my son, man. That's
That's
my
what we
son.
talking about right here, man. Right?
That's my son.
Right? Everybody's nephew,
That's my son.
everybody's little cousin. You got one of these sitting on your couch somewhere, man, could be in this situation.
That's my son.
Don't play like it can't happen to y'all, man. Don't play like y'all could be on this side next week. Don't play like it can't happen to y'all, because it can.
I want you all to keep the family in prayers, because some of what folks don't know is that family members end up having heart attacks and strokes and seizures and dying behind this. His father has traveled all the way from Chicago to be told that he can have an hour's time with his child. How inhumane can we be? I guarantee you, if Tyus was not a black man, there would be several concessions made for his life. Don't forget where we are. Race plays a major factor in this. And for those of you who believe differently, I pray to God it never happens to you.
That's right. I just want to speak life over my son. I know a lot of things are being said, but the fact of the matter is, like they said, he is still alive. And I just want to spend as much time with him as I can. And his siblings get to spend as much time with him as they can. Also his father. My son, just to give you a little background on him, he's had mental health challenges, but that's not who he is. A lot of us have mental health challenges. That's right. My son has always been a good son to me and his siblings. He's my oldest child. He graduated from a solar panel installation class, so he was always actively trying to improve himself and just live out his life. And I just would really like answers. I want to spend time with my son, and I would like for people to speak life over our situations.
My name is Dominique, L-A-D-A-N-A. I am the founder of Mantis, A-N-T-I-S. That matters because to me, because there's a situation. She called me. I've been standing here listening. Something struck me and it's about to share this microphone space to all of Sacramento. We are here with one hostile times. Definitely racially different. But no, poor treatment, mishandling, and neglect is not race specific. This is not a black issue. Sacramento. This is not a black issue. Call for oversight, call for investigation. It is not just to protect people that look like us. It's to protect everybody who believes in a government and a society that is humane. If you are empathetic to these parents, it's because you understand what it is to be a parent. If you are empathetic to the system, it's because you know what it is to be a citizen. Please understand that yes, this is a black family. Yes, this type of brutality is racially disproportionate and absolutely affects African Americans in a different way. But the system is not racist. Truth is not racist. Justice is not racist. Believe in it, stand for it.
Shay.
mental health treatment is handled, the way families are treated, the way people are treated when they go to seek help to these several different institutions in this city. There are so many cracks that my son slipped through. I can't tell you how many offices and hospitals, mental health facilities that I've been to try to get my son help. And it just, I don't know where, it's just hard doing it without the support that you need and without the foundations that include families. A lot of times we've been turned away. A lot of times we needed medication and there's no worker there to help get that medication that he desperately needed. There's just so many layers and layers and layers to the story. But at the end of the day, mental health needs to be talked about more. It does not need to be stigmatized. And people who go through mental health challenges have families that love them. When they go through what they're going through, they are not individuals anymore. It affects the whole family. And that's where the community needs to wrap around these individuals so that these type of things do not happen. In the schools, where it starts in young age, we need more mental health support for these children. In middles and high schools, in colleges, it just needs to be more readily available and not a stigma, not somewhere, well, maybe you can go here, or I know of this place. That's how it has been trying to navigate this. That's what I'm calling for.
Sure.
So once again, we thank everybody for coming, for everybody here that is defying the law enforcement community of telling us we can't do this, showing their face to stand up for this young man who should still be standing on his feet. So thank you everybody for coming, and we'll continue to keep you guys updated. Jamila is probably the best point of contact for updates on things that are going on.